Well, hello, friends. Interesting day. Before we get into animation, I will say very interesting day in the market today. Golly, let's look at the 5-minute chart. That's what I'm talking about. That craziness right there. Apparently, Donald announced that he was pausing the tariffs, and the market just went whoa. So apparently, the market's looking for just some sense of stability. You know, I don't blame him. So I did actually dive in and did several scalp trades that all were profitable. Just like actually this little retracement here and then part of this leg up here, but I don't really want to like give it tons of focus today. Made a few bucks, it's cool. But anyway, okay, so what I'm working on is here we have the kids. Mel's like, let's get out of here. This whole Gripson thing ain't working for me. Luke is like, okay, let's do that. Wait, what? And then they hear a noise, and it's the tavern keeper. Kip, what are you doing? Get back here, you rodent. Okay, because you'll recall, actually, significantly back here, Lucas said to TNR when they kind of looked at what was going on when Mel spilled water all over the prints, he's like, let's just say it's always good to have a backup plan. And then later what we find out is Monkey was the backup plan. So at least they're going to get away with some nuts or something that Monkey stole. So I'll tell you what we'll do here is put this back over here. Oh, important question probably today would be, well, why Tahoma2D for this particular shot? And basically the reason is no particular reason other than like I put in all the keyframes of Monkey. So actually 1, 3, 5. I put in these keyframes just trying to, you know, just feel the motion. And then what I did was one thing you can do in Tahoma2D is you can switch the step level from 1 to 2, 3, 4, whatever. And in doing that, it put extra frames in between. So then I just in between each of the first frames I drew, and then I just tweened them. You know, just put basically frames in between. So to answer the question that obviously I ask myself is, for a shot like this, Krita's out for sure. And the reason Krita is out is because when you're trying to like work quickly and swoop out an animation and sort of feel how things are happening, because Krita doesn't refresh its animation cache readily, what you wind up with is a situation where you're always having to hit play just to see what's actually going on. This is just to give a frame of reference. When I did the storyboard initially, I actually had the frame of reference gone because I had the kids over on the other side of the tavern instead of you know, I kind of got into the scenes and most of the action kind of took place here. Whereas I had drawn it in the storyboard where the kids are over from the same perspective of where Mel was when he originally approached the tavern quite a while ago. And then I realized, oop, that was wrong, so I have to kind of re-envision the last few shots of this sequence. So anyway, with Tahoma, you can scrub back and forth and everything's very fluid. Blender too, but on balance, with Blender you're going to be, and that's where the storyboard was. It's all based on this shot right here. You know, get back here, you little rodent. And so, I mean, just for me, with Blender, it's not quite as fluid when you're just trying to do rapid, what I would just call full animation, which is what this is. This is a lot of shots, or a lot of frames. So, and then I made myself laugh, which is usually a good sign, because if you watch this closely, maybe you'll see it, maybe you won't. Did you catch that? Did you catch it? I had monkey mug for the camera right there. He waves. I thought that was funny. So, well, I don't know if other people think that's funny, but so I'm going to have to envision what happens next a little more carefully, because Monkey's going to have to, in the storyboard, what he does is he comes to a skidding halt like that, which is pretty cool. I want to do that, but I have to kind of figure out. He's going to have to do that and then effectively turn around and race back to the kids, which is where you get this. Ta-da! We've got some goodies. And then the kids need to be like, they kind of have, Monkey's our backup plan. Let's get out of here. And then they're just, I would assume, going to take off. And we'll leave some things unclear, like exactly what direction did they run in and blah, blah, blah. Because really the next thing that happens is it fades to black or white or whatever, and you're out on the river. And the whole last sequence, this would be the last sequence of episode 3, is all out on the boat, and they have successfully escaped Gripson without actually having accomplished much other than Monkey's goodies. So this is the shot, such as it is. So the way I did it was I did turn on onion skins briefly as I put in these key frames, and then I went in and just turned it into 2s and then added frames in between. One thing about this shot too is, notably, when I put it into the edit for the show, probably I'll kick the frame rate for this particular shot up to 10, because you can see it just feels a little better if it's all a little quicker. So there it is, friends. Okay, so then what's the next thing I do? Well, since Monkey is in motion, like this guy is just he's just 2 frames. Back and forth, back and forth. These guys, the kids over here, which, by the way, to be accurate, probably, and this should go to here, by the way. To be accurate, I probably should take these guys and just actually shift them back over here, because that's actually where they were standing when all this kind of went down. So, and now, just to make everything easier to see, I'm going to jump to this layer and take out that line so it's not blocking the kids. I may just actually steal just find some frame earlier in the show of the kids standing around and just basically paste them in. We'll see. Okay, so hey Tom, welcome to the, what is it? Is it a podcast? Is it a live stream? I don't even know what it is. I'm just doing what I do. So, okay, so normally once I'm feeling pretty good about the motion, well, here's what's going to happen. When you get into ink and paint, what you're going to find out is that shots like this, if you're pretty strong on anatomy and characterization, like how your characters are supposed to look, and you don't struggle too much with that, then you can get away with going straight to ink and paint on a shot like this, because everything's moving so fast that, like, for example, here, I could probably like throw a foot up here in all kinds of cockamamie ways that are anatomically don't make any sense, and because it's all happening so fast, it'll still play. Yeah, I don't even see what I did there. So the danger, of course, is you add too many little details, and now things are too complicated, which I think this did not help, by the way. And you're creating a situation where there's too much for the eye to digest, because it does happen so fast. So you do want to favor keeping things kind of simple when they're moving this quickly, right? So it's not that important, I should say, to really carefully draw every one of these frames. So right now I'm just kind of killing time, and I figured I'd live stream for a bit and just kind of say hello and keep working on it. Yeah, so the things I do want to pay attention to are things like this. Like right here, you can draw his foot as squiggly as you want, but it is important, is the foot kind of like facing up or facing down kind of thing. You know, there are things you want to be sure that you kind of have conjigured correctly. Let's go back to the top here. But frankly, this is the type of shot where you could actually use the, what do they call it in Tahoma, the Smart Raster Paint Tool, I believe. Yeah, the Smart Raster Paint Tool. It's the V key. Instead of the B key for a brush, you hit the V key. And what the V key does is it gives you a brush that's putting in, well, you can tell it to put in lines or areas or whatever you want, actually. And it's funny, I'm kind of like thinking and learning here in real time, because I've done a lot of, you know, you can use this to touch up a fill, you know, right? Obviously. And I don't think it's ever occurred to me when I was using the Smart Raster Paint Tool to set it to lines and areas, because one of my complaints with the Smart Raster Paint Tool in the past was that it doesn't actually effectively delineate fill areas. So like if I do this, let's just find out right now. I'm going to put this as lines and areas. I'll bet you this will fill, well, okay, that filled a little too aggressively, I guess, didn't it? Okay, it doesn't seem to be seeing it. It could be that I'm wrong. It could be that if you do lines and areas on this, it still isn't going to fill. And the only way to find out, actually, would be to hit the B key and draw another shape. Okay, and see if that fills. See, that does. So that means that's kind of bad. That means that the Smart Raster Paint Tool, even if you tell it to do lines and areas, still doesn't act as a fill border, which is kind of silly, but there it is. Okay, back to the work here. Okay, so we do have his fingers holding this bag that he's carrying around. And let's just zoom in. So if you're thinking, man, how can your drawing be that crude and be expected to work? It works. It's because everything's moving fast. You kind of said it many times. You can get away with murder if you, so to speak, when things are in motion. What is going to be problematic maybe here is that this is very nicely suggestive of what's going on as a pencil test. Once it comes time for ink and paint, where do I put his body, you know, because, and the reality is probably I could not do it at all. I could actually ignore his body in these shots where he's further away, and it just wouldn't matter. That's because, again, it's going by so fast, you just don't see it. So, anyway, that's what's going on in my world today. Boop boop. This should be probably knuckles on the ground, I think. Okay, and then this is where we can kind of tighten things up so that we have some better guides at ink time. Meaning, go ahead and make sure that hand is actually in the right place. This, more flexible. Again, I'm not giving much attention here to anatomy other than making it loose and fun. Right? Because as long as it's got good action, it'll look good in motion. Boom, boom, boom. I guess he's getting close enough that it wouldn't be a horrible idea to get a little more specific about the characterization here. Even though, again, this is only going to be on the screen for one frame. Let's see what we have here. Okay, that bugs me a little bit. Let me zoom out a bit. Okay, what bugs me? Okay, so I'm going to take this. Let's go ahead and turn that on. Okay. This is why I don't use onion skins very much. It's pretty hard to see. I mean, actually, I guess that's okay. Looking at the positioning of the hand relative to the, before and after frames. This, I think what I'll do is just let this be moving a little bit, but this is a good example of what I talked about before. I need to get a little more specific here. Like if this leg comes down here, the abdomen goes up there, you're obviously going to have an arm across there. So basically, if there's just a little blur of color right there, it'll work. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm kind of making the foot trail behind a little more there. And now let's get radical, and we'll echo the mugging thing. This is, again, anatomically, this makes absolutely no sense, because you would think this is his hand, but actually, if you look at the flow, it's probably his foot. So that makes no sense. It doesn't matter. It's all going fast. It'll probably look fine. But you never know. Let's find out. Yeah, I mean, that makes the mugging thing look, it's just easier to see. Your eye can catch it. So cool beans. Do we want to put on this frame? Probably it's a little remnant of the tail. It would almost be kind of funny to go like this. We'll see. Maybe that'll work. Maybe it won't. Where he disappears. Poof. We'll see. Maybe I'll leave that in there. Maybe I won't. We shall see. Okay. So this guy. I think I can go straight to ink with him. The kids I'm not going to worry about right now. So let's go to hit the N key so I'm seeing it the actual size it would be on the screen. I actually don't think that's a good idea. It's risky behavior. I'm just trying things here on the fly. Dissipating dust breaks up in phases, expands outward. That would be good. Yeah? Let's try that. Let's take Tom's advice. Okay, here's how we'll do it. Let's give it a try. Can't hurt to try. I'm going to use that brush because it is black. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this would trail behind him just a little bit. So, boom, pop. Right there probably when his legs are ostensibly doing something. So let's start it here. I have no idea if this is going to work, but I'm going to try it. And for this, I probably should. Actually, let's turn these guys off. Let's turn this guy off. Let's turn everything off, actually. So all we see is monkey. Okay, so what I'm going to do is have this expand like that. And now it's still expanding, but it's slowed down. This is the kind of thing Yo-Yo Shinari is so good at, like explosion type things that. Okay. So then it's going to hang in the air for a bit. It would hang in the air. And then slowly retract, I think. I've never really done this before, so maybe I'm wrong. Poof. Yeah, maybe. Especially if you put the dust as part of the monkey drawing around his feet. Alright, let's turn everything back on and kind of see what we've got. It's one of those things like, did it work? I literally have no idea. I'm just going with my gut. Not bad. The thing I don't like is that I don't think it expands quickly enough. So what I'm going to do, let's see, there we're here. I'm going to go back and I'm going to expand this one so that it seems to billow up quicker, more quickly. You know, it's like big up, pause, and then slow back down, I think. Poof. Yeah, I mean, it kind of works. I'm going to leave it in there for sure. It's not if I you found a site with dust animation. Nice. Yeah, I mean, you could put another one here-ish too, but whatever. For now, we'll just go with that. I'm going to stick with working with monkey. What time is it? How are we doing on time? 2:51. Let me look. Are you posting them on the Discord then? I assume. Discord. Yeah, dust animations. Like I said, Yo-Yo Shinari, dust explosions, that type of thing. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I see it, Tom. Yeah, I mean, what they have here is, I'm looking at the vortex that has the green background. It's, you know, pretty similar in terms of timing and stuff. I certainly would not pay $60 for that video clip. It ain't that good. Yeah, I don't think the links. I think when you post links in the YouTube chat, they don't go. There may be something about my settings that could change whether they're allowed or not, but the other thing about this, as long as we're sort of nitpicking this type of thing, it seems to me that probably this whole bit is, okay, I didn't mean to do that. This whole bit is probably, yeah, it's probably shrinking too fast as well. So I'm going to make that, you know, I'm just kind of learning as I go here, so. I just want to make it so the dust kind of hangs in the air a little bit more, I guess is what I'm trying to do. Apparently if you hit Control-Alt-Delete, or not Control-Alt-Delete, Control-Alt-Shift, it makes the whole thing expand out from center, so. Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. That feels pretty good. It's all going to depend on, I mean, the timing of it's okay. It's probably not like the best dust cloud ever. But what's going to make the difference is totally going to be what's, you know, this will probably be done in Krita, I would think. Because then I can just do a semi-transparent overlay. Of course, I could do it here too. But my thinking right now is that probably I'll be taking these frames over to Krita anyway. So I usually do. Excuse me. And let's turn that back on. Monkey, monkey, monkey. Haven't seen monkey too much in this episode, actually. So it was kind of nice to bring him back here towards the end. Groovy. Yeah. Not to use, but to see. The breaking up is what I think is nice. Mm-hmm. They were swirly, that's for sure. But yeah, if one were to look at some of Yoshinari's work, like look at Kill la Kill, you know, because there's explosions and stuff all over the place in that show, and that guy and his team, basically the Studio Trigger guys, it's kind of a prevalent part of their style, actually. And their style is definitely unique in the anime space. Now, I would say that this is conflicting with the dust cloud. So that can be eliminated. So do I want to get into ink and paint? I don't know if I do. It's been a fairly bizzed out kind of last couple days. Let's see. So I'm not really in the mood to do ink and paint, is the long and the short of it. I'm more in the mood to just draw, and this could turn out to, like if I just do this as a pencil drawing here kind of thing, it could be that I'll be able to just add color behind it. And because remember, we can take this, hit the eraser, put it in selective mode, and get rid of the red, you know, leaving only the black behind. I guess that's another point about Tahoma that's quite nice. Okay, so guess his belt would feel like it's right about there, which would mean his feet feel like they're about there. I do believe that Mel's costume is essentially a skirt. Yeah, it is. Okay, I remember. I know. You would think, how could you possibly forget that? Trust me. When you're keeping as many things in your head as I try to sometimes, that you can definitely forget some of the details. And you can always hold the conceit that, well, if I make a bad mistake, then that's kind of fun for the audience, because then they can find the mistake and have something to laugh about. I mean that quite seriously. There really is nothing wrong with having errors here and there in a show. I've told the story of when I was shooting a movie, and one guy that had a sizable role was acting just insane about the fact that the camera bag was in one of the shots. Yeah, he just was so obsessive about it. He was an OCD kind of guy anyway. And I'm like, dude, no one cares. No one's going to notice. It doesn't matter. Okay, so let's see what we're going to do with this. Let's take this. Let's shift it a little bit until it just kind of feels like it's about right. And then what I'll do is adjust the other kids, you know, in keeping with whatever I do with Melchizedek. Boink. So Erase. That doesn't quite work, does it? That's kind of dumb. Obviously, if this one's here, I don't mind his arms looking a little lanky and long, because the whole idea is he's got this sort of droopy demeanor at the moment. Or is that just the story we tell to explain away the fact that we're being sloppy? It could be that. Let's see. Luca was actually here. And Tianara was behind him. So I'll just kind of make a head indication. Now let's take this. And right now, again, selective. I'm just going to take all this garbage out. Doesn't need to be in there. Okay, so let's assume his feet would have to be here-ish, which means probably his waist is going to be about there. These guys are just looking on while all the action takes place before their eyes. Yeah, okay, just checking the comments to see if there's anything new going on. I'm pretty sure Luca has long pants. Like I said yesterday, it's probably true with most animators. I think I was talking about tools like, Liquify or the sculpting in Blender. And I suspect that people that really do a lot of animation probably don't really use tools like that much. They probably favor just redrawing if something's not quite right. Of course, that's all speculation on my part. Feels a little too big. She's not that much bigger than Luca. If you wonder why I'm kind of scribbling here, I'll tell you why. The idea, a lot of times, is you keep the stylus moving, and you want to have this kind of thing going on, because what happens is your eye starts to fill things in and see things in those shapes. It's a very creative process, actually, scribbling. It's really the same benefit you get if you use AI to generate ideas, or obviously some of us probably want AI to do our work for us, and I don't think we're quite there yet, but when you scribble, you're basically doing the same thing. What you're doing is you're putting something on the screen that your mind and your imagination can then respond to. That's really all you're trying to do. That's actually what drawing is. It's an aspect of drawing that I never really hear anybody talking about. Meaning what? Meaning you're you've got a feedback loop going on right now. And the feedback loop is you draw something and then your mind processes what you're drawing and sees it appearing before you on the screen. And as it appears, you're constantly reassessing and adjusting. And the key thing to it, the absolute most important thing I would tell a young practitioner probably, is your gut knows when it's wrong. Like your gut can feel it. You can feel it, like the characterization's been lost. He doesn't look right. If this were Luca, for example, the eyes are probably slightly too high in the head. So it takes some practice so that you know what's wrong. But even a child can tell something's wrong. They can't necessarily tell what, but they can tell something's not right. And you want to become really sensitive to that. Because then what you're doing is you're essentially a correction machine is what you are. You're drawing and you're saying this is right or this is wrong, and then you're making adjustments, and as it comes together you move closer to or further away from what you have in your imagination. So obviously a very important aspect of that then is that what you do have in your imagination for you is clear. Part of the problem is, I've certainly been guilty of this in the past, is we actually don't have that clear of an idea of what we're trying to achieve, and we're kind of hoping, that's I guess why we chase after all kinds of tools, looking for the next magical thing that's going to make it easy. It's because we haven't exercised our imagination enough to really know what we're after. But it's important to remember that that is an iterative process. It's an evolutionary process, if you will. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Well, it's just like I was talking about with the market today. One thing I am pretty good at, just because I've done it quite a few times, is I can, oops, that was not supposed to happen. Hit the wrong key. Is looking at price action and, oops, I'm in the wrong layer right now. I need to hit erase. Erase everything I just did. I'm in the wrong layer. Probably would be a good time to maybe think about naming my layers. Yeah, there we go. So this would be monkey. But yeah, what I was saying is scalping. So it's like the idea is you're watching the price action and you just learn to get a feel for it. It's like you see on the screen, what you see is you see a candle, and then you see the bid and the ask price kind of dancing above it, and you just get a feeling like, I think it's about to spring and the next candle is going to be something like this, right? And so then you buy, and then sometimes in the matter of just 20 seconds you sell and can make a few bucks. It's fun. It's a little stressful. I admit it's very much stressful. It demands a lot of attention. That's why I'm not doing much of it right now, is that I can't really make good progress on a cartoon and think about what's going on in the markets at the same time. So it's been good that everything's been in such turmoil with the Trump tariffs and everything that, it's like, we'll just kind of let things happen and wait and see kind of thing. I know it's a little strange to be talking about that on an animation channel, but what can I say? It's what I do. Okay, let's just get our bearings here. So as far as these guys go, let's see. I'm going to hit the N key. So that's actual size. So I would say no question. I'll be able to just paint behind these guys, put in the colors, and they're good. That looks fine for, anime type. Okay, so what about this guy? Let's go ahead and put his ink in there. Might as well. And then we'll just do it on the same layer and do what I did before, where I use selective erasing to just get rid of the red lines once I've got the black lines in there that I want. By the way, how's my audio level today? I haven't even looked at it. It looks like it's good, which would mean, I guess that would make sense because we're in the middle of the week, and normally I do a Zoom call with family on the weekend. Yeah, the levels haven't changed. So I'm pretty sure it's Zoom that's to blame. Okay, so I'm not going to put in this guy's mouth, because he is going to be yelling and screaming, and so because of that, put his mouth on a separate layer. If we recall, this guy's got kind of pretty long hair. He's a bit of a rough character. Boink. Yeah, so his mouth will be just like blah, 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 that type of thing. Okay, so now he had not a tank top, but a cutoff kind of situation on his shirt. And audio is fine. Cool, man. Thanks. Yeah, I think one of the actual bummers in life, in a way, when you're a creative person, is, or have a lot of diverse interests, is that it is hard to give good focus to more than one thing. You can do it. Some people seem to be able to do it. I would say I'm okay at it if what I do is kind of work in 30-minute blocks where I say, okay, you know, taxes are due. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the taxes for 30 minutes. Let's just turn on some music and almost try to make it fun, kind of thing, right? That's asking a lot when it comes to taxes, but you know, give it 30 minutes, and then if you find you kind of got in the zone and you don't mind what you got to do, well then, you know, go for another 30. But when I break my day into sessions that are fairly brief, and it could be because I'm a little, what's the word? I don't know, ADHD, I suppose. I do well with sprinting, do a short sprint, and that's how I lift too when I lift weights. So I lift almost every day. My workouts will range from 12 minutes to probably 20. They are not long. And in that 12 to 20 minutes, I'm going to do 6 sets. Like I might do 6 sets of bench presses and 6 sets of curls, followed by 6 sets of kind of an exercise I kind of invented. Actually, my son likes to talk about it. My son is a kind of a top shelf personal trainer in New York City. He's very, very good. He was actually the top trainer in terms of sales at the biggest club in New York City. So that's saying something. He's pretty, you know, he's got good credentials and he's very skilled, and his customers seem to really like him. His specialty is essentially geriatric. In other words, people that are 60 or more that are looking to sort of restore some, you know, muscle tone and whatever. But so anyway, he likes to talk about this exercise because it's not that I invented it. I certainly didn't, but I do it, and when people see me do it, it looks kind of funny or weird or like, what the heck? And what it is I'll lay down on the bench like to do flies. So you lay down on your back and you're taking 2 dumbbells, so they might like be a 45 pound dumbbell, let's say. So you're gonna pull them up so they meet in the center. But what I do is while I'm doing that, so I'm laying on the bench, and I love doing it. It's a fun exercise. So I'm holding the dumbbells like this, and they're gonna come up like this, right, and meet. But while I'm doing this, I also have my legs out front and I do a kick over. So my feet come up like this as I'm doing the fly. So these go up and down at the same time these do. And apparently nobody else on earth really seems to do that exercise because I'm somewhat celebrated for my unique little thing I do. Now, I don't remember what the heck was this guy's clothing. I gotta jump to the earlier shots and see. Did we ever see this guy's like pants? I just don't remember. So let's scroll back. Up, right there. Looks to me, yes, okay. I think what he was actually doing, I'm going to do it this way. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to overrule the pencil test and say, I want this guy actually to be wearing an apron. Just 'cause. Now, earlier he wasn't. So let me see. Is that a credible sequence of events? Yeah, I mean, he met Mel outside, and then, of course, they went into the tavern. So, yeah, the dude would have had some opportunity to throw an apron on. Why not, right? I'll keep this very simple, very cartoony. Right. Not bad. And so then what we'll do is we will, okay, let me do it this way. Let me think for a minute. The first thing we should do is actually do selective erase of the red right now. And the reason for that is now I want to go grab this and paste it into this frame. Now all I have to do is just make a little, oh, come on now, Dave, really? S key, make a little adjustment here. Okay, move the center point to the upper corner of the shoulder so that I can then bloop. And then I just have to do a little bit of corrective work right here. So let's go back to this. Yep, we'll just erase it. Because if I don't erase it, it's just going to cause confusion because I'm still seeing a bunch of erroneous lines that I don't even want in there. There you go. And then just punch it up. Punch it up, friends. All right. Let's zoom out and see what we got. Not bad. Okay, so on this one, obviously, we want to hit erase, get rid of the red lines, get rid of the red lines. Basically it works. So add screaming into your routine. Get even more benefit. You know, some people do that, okay? I don't know if you're a lifter kind of guy. Most people that are coder kind of guys are not lifter kind of guys, actually, in my experience. But you could be the exception. Well, I guess I'm the exception. I'm a coder kind of guy who's a lifter kind of guy. But, yeah, I don't do a lot of the as I'm pushing up. I learned, well, basically my path was this. When I got into college, I would lift in college. And typically, I'd be lifting by myself. So I learned really early to, actually, I'm going to do select and paste here. I learned really early to have really good form and control. So if I'm struggling to push the weight, I'm going to be very quiet, and I'm just going to be gritting my teeth and probably breathing out. Right, and okay, so the only other thing would be just a little bit of variance there. Actually, that would be good. Doesn't matter which frame I do it on, but one of these should probably move these guys just a little bit. Right, and key. So again, this is actual size. Yeah, that looks cool. Super cool. And we don't need to worry about, in fact, honestly, I'll probably just at ink and paint time just put in his mouth on a separate layer, just draw a bunch of shapes and we're good to go. So, all right, what do we want to do with Monkey? Well, he's a little different case. I think we need to turn down and put in another layer. or level as Tahoma2D calls it. Now, what do we want to do here? Do we want to ink this properly? Military group exercise shouts out cadence during. Well, and that can help. Now, what I do, I definitely do a lot of singing. I go down in the basement, I crank up the jams and sing along with Boston or Sammy Hagar, that kind of thing. Sing along. Yeah, I used to be the lead singer in a rock band. Lead singer, lead guitar. Boy, that was in like 2009, 2010. Basically, once I started making movies, I ditched the band. I told the guys it was like one thing too many. Once I got the movie deal, I'm like, okay, I don't really have time for this anymore. So that's what I did. I'm definitely going to keep this loose. Just on principle alone, I'm going to keep this very loose. Just to see if it comes out looking just fine, which I think it will. So why be too picky about it? Let's keep it loose and fun. Right here, we'll just put in a splash of brown, you know, in the color. It'll be fine. I think the bag's going to be like tan, maybe. I'm going to turn this actually way down. Yeah. B key. So I feel like you want just a little bit of something there. Yeah, so I like to sing when I work out. I don't really do the screaming thing too much. Although, I have actually, true confession, one time I was singing along with a song that's fairly hard to sing for a lot of people, which is Jane by Starship. Or back then it was called Jefferson Starship. So if you know the song Jane, I was singing along with Jane. Now there's, Mickey Thomas is a great vocalist, really awesome vocalist. Still is, actually. Even at, what is he, like 80 or something? He still hits the notes pretty well. And I was getting really loud, and I damaged my hearing. I actually went upstairs and was putting dishes away, and I could hear this buzzing in my ears. I'm like, what the heck is going on, And sure enough, I had done some damage. My hearing is not what it used to be. Actually, this is wrong. What am I doing here? What am I doing? What is missing? I gotta make this. Oh, okay, I see. Gotcha. Wait. Did I spell that right? I can't even see. I guess I spelled it like the group. The monkeys. No wonder it doesn't look right. Okay, I keep clicking this, and I'm modifying the wrong layer. Curse you, Red Baron. Alright, back to work. Zink. What time is it? 3:23. I'm going to have to wrap up here in a little bit. Okay, so we'll just keep it loose, keep it fun. We're not going to worry about anatomy. We know it all just snakes by so fast that as long as it looks exciting and whatnot, it'll be just fine. Okay, question. On the previous frame... okay, there we go. I thought I forgot that. Poof. Actually, Dad Express. Hello. It's not live? It is live. What are you talking about? Okay, goodbye. What is that all about? Hello? It's not live? Question mark. Okay, goodbye. Dude, when... I don't know if you're here anymore, but when somebody's drawing, you can't really... obviously I'm conversing here, but you can't really keep your eye on the comments like constantly because it's impossible to draw and look at the comments at the same time. So anyway, I'm sorry if I disappointed you and you thought I was going to be responsive and wasn't. So if you had a question, I would assume, why would you ask if it was live unless there was something you wanted to ask or something of that nature? Feel free. What are you animating? Great question, my friend. Well, here's what I'm animating. I'll show you. Here we go. You ready? Poof. This is episode 3 of a cartoon called Salt and Light, The Chronicles of Melchizedek, which you can find on Amazon Prime. Just search Chronicles of Melchizedek. You'll find it. And this is episode 3. So episodes 1 and 2 are already, out there on Amazon Prime. And, as I say, I'm working on not just Prime either. I mean, you can watch it other places as well, like Tubi or whatever. But so, yeah, episode 3. And it's a cartoon that I released basically originally 2 years ago, and then after I released the first 2 episodes, I quit. I quit working on it actually for about 1.5 years because I wanted to wait and see. Look, is this thing gonna grab? Am I gonna be making some money from it? Call me an evil capitalist, but it's true. That's really what my attitude was. This was fun, but now I'm gonna move on and do some other stuff for a bit while I wait to see if the show catches any traction. And it took 1.5 years, and then all of a sudden the sales just started sailing north. So when that happened, and I kind of had confirmation that that this seems to be a thing, then I went ahead and started working on episode 3. So that's the story here. That's the story, my friend. So this is not just dicking around on YouTube pretending to animate. This is an actual show that's really out there, and I say that because if you're looking at what I'm doing right here, you're probably thinking, oh my God, that's like kind of crude, man. Yes, but then again, as I've noted many times, this shot goes by so quick that those details, your eye can't digest them anyway. So, because it all goes by too fast. Just saying. So anyway, hope that answers your question. But wait, what the fuck, really? Oh, from Argentina. Awesome. From South America. That's great. Thank you. You know that cartoon? Really? But it's not illegal or prohibited by the studio streaming this? Well, I'm not sure I understand the question. Everything about this cartoon is owned by me. Okay? Like, I write it. I do all the voices. I do all the animation. I write the music that's in the background. It's one-man show kind of thing. And, but you ask an interesting question, because I'll tell you what's funny. This is the thing about that's funny. If I go on YouTube, okay, so if I go to my own channel here, right, and I were to look up, or if I were to play part of one of the other episodes that are already out there in distribution around the world, or if I were to play a clip from one of the movies I produced, I will get a copyright warning from YouTube. They'll give me a copyright warning. It's happened many times. And then I have to tell YouTube, I'm like, okay, YouTube, everything about this is owned by me, copyrighted by me. And the distributor is authorized to distribute it by me. They don't own the freaking show. I own the show. So you don't give me a copyright strike for my own show. That's silly. But, it's understandable. They don't know that. And they're just trying to protect the interest of whoever they think has a vested interest in a show. And obviously the distributor appears to. But typically distributors don't own the content that they distribute. They just license it from creators like myself. And, that's just how it works. So you ask a very pertinent question whether you realized it or not. Let me turn this off. I don't want that smoke stuff on there at the moment. So yeah, I can do what I want, and if I get a copyright thing because it's my own show, I just let them know, and then they then they remove the strike. Like I said, it's happened like 3 or 4 times. I know. Listen, pal, nobody wants to watch this, dude. I thought you are only an animator. No, I'm everything. But you get, yes, I'm the voice. If you watch the show, then you'll know the voice of Asher, right? Etc. Etc. And yeah, it's kind of cool. I think it's cool. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't think it was cool. But I'm amazed and really, really thrilled to discover that you're aware of the show. That's amazing to me. Once it started earning some royalties, I'm like, what the hell's going on? I don't get it. Do people actually like this show? I really, to this day, I don't really know what the reason is. I think as I've said here before, so anybody else who's listening, sorry for repeating myself, but I think what happened was, I tell you, I got a theory about it. Here's my theory. I'll give you my theory in a quick nutshell. My theory is this. I think that the poster I made for the show is pretty attractive. Like it's easy on the eyes. If you see the poster, you think, it might be an interesting show. And I think what's happened is it's like the old four-walling thing with theaters. Like back in the day, like Roger Corman back in the 60s or whatever, you create these low-budget horror films or whatever. And the whole key to four-walling is you better have a good poster. Because if the poster was good, people would check the movie out. And what are you going to do, buy a ticket and then leave after 10 minutes because the movie's obviously a low-budget movie? Nah, you'll probably watch it. You might not come back and watch it again, but you'll watch it one time, right? And I think maybe that's what's going on is because the poster's attractive on Amazon, people are like, well, I mean, it looks interesting, kind of has the same feeling as like Avatar: The Last Airbender or something. Let's check it out. And then what happens is it's a little bit of a crude production, admittedly. But I think maybe people give it a chance and they go, well, this actually is kind of, funny or whatever. That's my theory. I don't actually know. I literally have no idea why people are watching this show. Isn't that crazy? That's true. Ignorance is bliss. We'll see at the beginning of May when I get if the numbers are still good for first quarter of this year, then that would be good because it's had 2 really good quarters, and it could run out of gas. It could fizzle out. You never know. You just don't know about these things. So, but in the meantime, I want to crank out more episodes so that, because it's fun, for one thing. It's fun to do, and number 2, maybe make some money. I'm currently animating a scene of my first short for the final exam of my university career. Oh, well, you're probably a good animator then. Is that what you're studying? You're studying animation in school? That's super cool. Now, I think what I do is a little unusual, and probably for a young animator starting out, I think the whole key to the industry for you, the keys would be 2 things. This is like the real world advice from the street kind of thing. Now, you probably get better advice in school because they probably have credible professionals come in and talk to classes here and there and that sort of thing. But my basic advice for young people is, number 1, be a creator. In other words, don't just, this is my opinion. If you're really big on being part of a team, then this is not as important. But if you're more independent, then you really need to make sure you can write reasonably well. If you can be funny, that's even better. And then just make friends, in your school. What's going to happen, I would say the main thing, you're using Grease Pencil too, yeah. See, I've been using Grease Pencil a lot for the last couple months. That's what the whole storyboard for the rest of episode 3 is all done in Grease Pencil. And I've been basically animating Grease Pencil as well. But for now, just to shake things up, I'm jumping back over to Tahoma a bit. But anyway, the most important advice for young people is this. Okay, so you ready? Here's what it is. Take it or leave it. The advice is make sure that you make friends with other people that are doing what you're doing. And because what's going to happen, this is what always happens, is within your peer group of fellow animators, somebody in your peer group is gonna get a break. Somebody, you don't know who it's going to be. It could be the person you don't expect. But somebody in your group is going to get a break. They're going to get a show deal. They're going to get hired at a studio that maybe you'd like to work at. Something like that's going to happen. And when that happens, the person that got the break all of a sudden is like, okay, well, I need to kind of assemble a team here or whatever, and then they're going to call you because you're their friend. You may not be the best animator on the block. You might be really good. Who knows? But the basic place where the break tends to come from is it's just a people thing. So just make sure you cultivate relationships with other animators, and that way and be a good guy or girl, as the case may be. I don't actually know that you're male. And then when somebody gets that break, they might give you a call and say, hey man, I'm rocking and rolling here and I got something good going on. You want to come on over here and help out? Many, 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 many careers have been made in that exact way. Now the caveat is this. When that happens, you got to be able to deliver the goods. That's the main thing. You got to be able to deliver the goods when the gun goes off, so to speak. All right, what do we got here? Okay, monkey's getting closer to the camera. What time is it? 3:36. I actually have to wrap it up here in about, well, just a few minutes. But hey, man, I love seeing people from Argentina and other parts of the world pop in. So I think I'll do this last frame, kind of review how it's looking, and then I'm going to sign off. Boom. So yeah, tell your friends, and not that helps. I have to say emphatically that as far as I've been able to tell, there is, because remember I said when I released this show, I actually quit YouTube. I basically didn't live stream for over a year. I just disappeared. And when the show started getting traction, it was when I was not live streaming. So my point being, there's absolutely no relationship between my YouTube channel or my social media presence and the show, as far as, the success of the show, if you want to call it that. There's no relationship. So it's not that important that a lot of people come here. I just live stream because it's kind of fun to do so and just kind of powwow with my little tribe that's built up around what I'm doing over the last few years. Good bunch of people. Actually, I don't have friends of the career for the moment. Haha. There are a lot of people who only makes the classworks to pass the year, not for improving, Yeah, well, it's up to you. It's up to you what you want to try to do. I've had quite a well, I don't know. I'm a little unusual in that I've basically worked for myself for 30 years, so that's unusual. Commercial media, radio jingles, that kind of stuff. And then around 2010-ish, I started making feature films, and I made 8 movies, and then I kind of got tired of that, and many people who know me had been saying for years, you should just make a cartoon. You'd probably really enjoy it. And I'm like, yeah, that is kind of what I've always really wanted to do. Even in high school, so now we're going back 35 years here or something. Even in high school, I kind of wanted to make a cartoon. It was, so, what the heck? Why not, right? Something to do. But every goal is just as good as any other goal, The important thing as a young person is, here's the thing. Now, it's not always possible in the career path. It's not always possible to do what I'm about to say. Okay? But certainly my advice to my sons and to young people is this. You're going to have a choice especially if you get into a relationship and you're getting married or something like that. You're going to have this choice, and the choice is going to be to keep chasing what you really, really, really in your heart of hearts want to do. And it may be something you never even told anyone. It's like a secret. That's okay. But whatever you most want to do, you're going to come to a demarcation point, a pivot point in your life, where you're going to choose to either chase what you really, really want, or you're going to take something that is kind of peripherally related to what you want, but it really isn't what you want. And I'm going to tell you that all you're going to do is set yourself back many, many years. Now, if you don't do what you actually really most want to do, later on in life, you'll wish you had. Like I'm saying 100%. Then Tom, are you still here, Tom? You can concur. You're probably my age-ish, I suppose. It's really important. Really, really important. Because if you do what you really want to do, number one, you're going to be happy. And if you're happy, you're going to do better work. Because you're going to want to work. You're going to want to do it. Right? So now, as I say, not everybody can do this necessarily. Although I think in truth most can. But yeah, like I said, that's what I tell my son. You know, do what you want and don't compromise it, because you're just going to keep circling back to it. You'll spend the rest of your life like me. I mean, that's what I did. I did want to make a cartoon when I was in high school. Then what happened? Well, I'm sidetracked with getting married, and then I'm sidetracked with making movies, and I'm sidetracked with having, a couple hundred commercial media customers, doing stuff that it's kind of fun to do, but it's not really what I really want to do. You know what I mean? And so then what happens is you keep circling back to the thing you really want to do. So why be stupid? Why not just go ahead and go for it? Well, usually the reason is because you don't, especially for creative people, you don't really believe that you could do this thing that you really want to do. I mean, and maybe that's not true in Argentina. You know what I mean? You're 21. Yeah, you're right there. Can you live from it? I would say no. At this point, no. I've got 2 quarters behind me of this show, and it's earning in the neighborhood of a couple $1,000 USD, United States dollars, per month. So that's pretty good. For some people, I mean, I actually could live on that. Because my house is paid for. You know what I mean? My actual, cost of living's not that high. So I actually could literally stop everything, focus totally on doing this cartoon, and if it keeps earning reasonably well, I could go the rest of my life till I'm 70 or something, just doing this. I probably could. I don't know if I could, but I probably could. And it's fun. It's like I said at the beginning here, I enjoy this. I enjoy trading on the stock market. I kind of enjoy commercial media, although I've done it for so long that it's not really that cool anymore. Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, the important thing is to believe in yourself, and I think for a lot of young people, you have to look in the mirror and you have to say it decisively. You have to say, damn it, no matter what, I'm going to chase this thing. The minute you have a relationship, it becomes much, much harder, because then you're going to be tempted to make compromises in order to secure some sort of financial situation, right? Buy a house, baby on the way, that kind of thing. Happens to all of us sooner or later. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Yeah, I don't know what the real climate out there for animation in terms of whether, I don't actually know. I have no idea the scope of the opportunity that's really out there. I don't know. I just do my little silly little cartoon, and if it's grabbing and people seem to like it, then cool. Then I can keep doing it, And if it all falls apart, if I get the May statement and it turns out it earned $40 last quarter, well, I probably will keep working on it anyway because I can kind of afford to, but that would be quite disappointing. You know, you can always go back to day trading or something else. There's plenty of fish in the sea, plenty of opportunity everywhere you look. If you simply believe you can and then try. Don't give up. Most failure, not all, but most failure is directly a function of having given up. Too soon. So that's something to think about too. All right, guys, I'm done. What programs do you render your two? Schizo Goblin says, I can do this. I love that. That's cool. You can do this. Anybody can do it. Do you have any advice to give of Grease Pencil? Not really. If you use Grease Pencil, you're probably as facile with it as I am. And I use Blender 2.93. I don't even use Blender 3 or 4. In fact, the machine I'm animating on right now, it's a 12-core machine. It's pretty fast, but it is also 10 years old. It's an old machine. And so, nope. If you've got reasonable competence with the Grease Pencil, you probably know as much or more about it than I do. And as far as rendering, the best answer to that question is the show is rendered. Like if you scan through this show, you're gonna see, like I'll give you a flavor here. Like this is probably mostly Blender and Krita. This is going to be Krita. This is, I believe, Blender. Tahoma2D is sort of spread everywhere. So my 3 programs I use, they're all open source programs. Is Krita, Blender, and Tahoma, which is basically OpenToonz, if you think about it that way. So I don't know why I'm... Oh, I see what's going on. Okay, yeah. So like this is mostly rendered from Blender, and then I'll bring it into Krita to add the lighting effects and stuff. And sometimes I do the paint, like the color. Sometimes I do the color in Blender, but sometimes I do the color in Krita. One of the things I try to do is make what comes out of all 3 programs look pretty much the same. You know. This is mostly Blender. That's definitely Blender. Well, wait, is it? That actually might be... I might be wrong. That actually might be Krita. That was a really quick and dirty shot. A lot of Blender there. You see sculpting there, like right there through the shoulder. That's the sculpting in Blender. You know, with the Grease Pencil. So you get the idea. It's basically all 3 programs, and I just use whatever I feel like using at the time that seems like the right tool for the job at hand. So that's it. Do I use Grease Pencil to render? Yes. Yeah. I mean, in Blender, it's over here. So this is what the storyboard looked like, and then this was a really, really long storyboard too. So a lot of it was inked and painted in Blender. Some of it was just inked and then colored over there in Krita. You know, it just depends. There's no right answer, and I say over and over to people that watch my channel that the tool is not that important. It just isn't. If you're really motivated to animate, you could be doing it on paper, and you're probably going to be just fine, you know. The tool doesn't... Having good tools is definitely important, but at the end of the day, it... You know... Well, the thing I say over and over, I'll wrap up with with this comment today, because Tom's seen it a million times. Yeah, I do the editing in Vegas. The editing is done in Sony Vegas. For the shadows and lighting, you paint it manually? No, actually, okay, so there's 2 ways. If I do shadows in Tahoma, I will typically create a vector level, so I can just draw closed shapes of black, and then I make them semi-transparent. In Blender, what I do is I have a layer called shadows, and then I've got the shadows layer using the masking, so it is masked to the lines and the fills. So that means I can go to my shadow layer, and I'm going to use like shadow filled, which is basically solid black. And then if I draw, as you can see, it's masked. So that's basically how I do it. And then I just, typically shadows are like around 13-14% opacity, something like that. Although this says 0.3, so it does depend on the tool. In Krita or Tahoma, it tends to be around 15%, I guess, for whatever reason. It could be that using lights makes a difference. I don't know about that. I don't think so, because I don't have any lights in the scene. I just render flat out of grease pencil. I don't get into a lot of the doing stuff in 3D. Like everything's on the x-axis really, and very, very little 3D. Although there are exceptions. This shot, like back here, I'll show you this, and then like I said, I'm gonna wrap it up. Let me see. I gotta find it. Gotta scan through the show and find it. Believe it's right here. Yeah, this shot. This stuff, this was all Blender. In fact, I even created of course the image isn't, but I used the time offset modifier to make that water loop, right? So this reflections on the water is just a few frames that loop. And so I did do a 3D camera move on that particular shot. So you get the idea. Blah, 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 blah. So anyway, I am out of here. And guys, have a great day. Thanks for coming. And as you know, there will be more later.